think I found it. What's up, guys? It's Tony coming at you with another video. This time it has to do with the camshaft and whether I wanted to actually cam this 392 or not. So a couple weeks ago, one of the lifters went bad, started tapping, and turns out it was a collapsed lifter, not a bad roller. So I was just gonna at first replace the lifters with the MDS factory lifters. Went ahead and ordered a set off of eBay, and it got ripped off. And I'm getting my money back on those, but they came in, they were used, they were supposed to be new, and they weren't even Mooar lifters. So I went back and forth on whether or not I just wanted to fix it or if I wanted to cam it and go that extra step and do the custom cam in it. So here's where I'm at. After a lot of debate, back and forth, I decided to go ahead and cam it. And reason being is I've got a lot of this motor tore down. It's not that much further to go to do it, so it's a lot of work just to replace the lifter. So I figured if I'm going to put this work into it, I want to get something extra out of it. All right, guys, well, it's the next day, and I've been working on tearing down the 392, and I'll show you how far I've gotten so far. So let me show you what I found after doing some diagnosing. I think I found a collapsed lifter here on cylinder 1. None of the others have shown that much slack. The most you get usually is like this and no play back and forth. But that's enough to make a little knock there. So I've got the intake off. I've got the heads loosened up. And so I take the exhaust manifolds off and then pull the heads. At that point, I'm going to check out the cam. Once I pull the lifters, I'm going to check out the cam. Make sure the cam's okay with this little camera here. I can stick into the valve bore. And we'll see what's going on from there. So it looks like the head bolts, or the exhaust bolts, are pretty hard to get to, so I may wind up taking the flange loose and then pulling the whole manifold, exhaust manifold, with the head. So off camera, I jacked the back up and went underneath and took the exhaust manifolds loose. So I'm just going to pull the exhaust manifolds out with the heads. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and pull the rocker arms and pull the push rods. All right, so there's one of the rocker assemblies. These are marked with an I for intake. And these don't have a mark on the exhaust, so can't get them mixed up. All right, so I gave in and broke out the old pneumatic ratchet here. So I got all the head bolts loose. I'm ready to pop this head. Hopefully it'll unstick pretty easily. Yep, there we go, no problem. And this is a messy part, so make sure you got something underneath to catch all the coolant. All right, so I had one bolt in the back, in the very corner back there, it was still in a little bit. So now everything's loose. And this is gonna be kind of heavy with the exhaust manifold on it, so let's see what our need to be for this. Whew, that gasket was a little sticky. All right, now we can get to the problem area, the lifters. One of these two is the culprit. Oh yeah, I can see it was this one though. It's collapsed inside. Just didn't pump back up. But the rollers haven't failed. I suspect that the cam is still perfectly fine. No failed rollers here, which usually that's a big thing with the Moopars is the rollers failing on the cams. There goes the lifter. So there you have it, guys, a stuck lifter. So next thing I'm going to be doing is pulling the other side off, and I'm just going to go through and put new lifters on both sides, new head gaskets, of course. I'm going to go ahead and clean this. There's a little bit of carbon on the piston. I'm going to go ahead and clean that out, and then clean the heads up good. So just so you can see the difference, I wanted to show you a close up, if we can even see that. So you see how this one's pressed way down in there, and this one is all the way to the top. This one just didn't, it collapsed, it didn't pump back up. So that's what happened. I gave it about probably a 1/8 inch of play in the push rod, and that's what caused a major tapping or ticking noise. So if you hear a Hemi tick, it's not necessarily the end of your motor. It could just be a bad lifter. So now that the heads are off, I just took some little extra time and cleaned up the pistons real good with some solvent and a brass bristle brush, like a toothbrush. So now there's no carbon on the pistons. So I went ahead and tore the motor down to the heads, and pulled the lifters, found the bad lifter. And some of that's going to be on this video. Some of this is out of time, this video, because I started off not wanting to replace the cam, and now I am. So I still got to pull the timing cover and get the cam out. But here's all the parts I got laid out here, the heads, everything. And I went ahead and cleaned up the valves, and oh, and over here on the motor, I cleaned the pistons good, got all the carbon out of those. Might as well do those little things where you got it out, got it apart. But let me show you what I got. So this is a stage 3 cam kit from Texas Speed. Comes with your cam and the rods and springs, and also got an MDS delete kit. It's got Hellcat lifters, MDS delete plugs. Also got bolts for the damper in the cam. It's got a phaser lockout kit with it as well. All this is going to be going in here real soon. I've got to switch those springs over to these heads first, and once I do that, I'll finish pulling the cam out and get ready to put the new one in. So I've been doing some work on the heads to get them prepped for putting them back on with some new valve springs and seals. And I'm going to show you what replacing one of those valve springs and seals is like, especially when you're working with really janky tools like this valve spring compressor I got from Harbor Freight. And I was gonna rent one from Advance or O'Reilly's. O'Reilly's didn't have this kind. Advance had one that was even worse than this. And I wish I could just compress it down like that, but there is no way I can get enough leverage to push this down and compress the spring. So what I have to do is I have to put it on there already down, and then tighten up the screw part on the bottom. And try to make sure this stays straight, because it's such weak quality, it wants to turn sideways a lot of times, kind of twist up. So once you compress it down a little bit, and this is a tip I learned from Boosted Motorsports, you take this magnet, you can pull the keepers off with a magnet. There you are. And then there's a spring. Oh, there's the retainer. And I'm just going to pull the valve out and look it over. It's real good, real clean, shiny and new looking. Put some assembly lube on here. I'll let that sit there for a minute while I replace the seal. So these seals, there's really nothing scientific to it. You just kind of grab them and wiggle them around, and just kind of wiggle them back and forth and loosen them up until they come off. Take a new one. Get a socket that is the same size as the seal so that it fits on top of it, and just tap it down. That's all there is to that. Now I'll grab a bit of spring. Spring. Put my valve back up in here. Okay. Spring on, retainer, and I'm going to put a couple of dabs of assembly lube into the keepers so that when they're in place they kind of hold there. You can use like grease if you want to, but assembly lube's pretty thick. So use it. And this is the hard part. This is where we have to work hard to make sure this stays straight as it compresses the spring and doesn't twist. All right, I think you got it down far enough. Okay, that keeper's in place. All right. Now they're both in place. Now I just gotta make sure that this stays straight as it comes up and doesn't hit the edge of the keeper and pop it off. Looks like it's coming up good. That's it. Just repeat that 7 more times and it's done. So I have been hard at work. I've got everything ready to come out. The cam's ready to come out now. Just got to finish pulling that plate off right there. And I put a lockout kit into that phaser, which is not very complicated. There's hundreds of videos out there on it. Then I'm about to pull this cam out right now. The cam plate. Set this to the side. All right, now everybody says take this cam bolt, put it in, gives you a handle, and this thing should just pull right out. Here it is. Take it easy when you pull the cam out. Try not to scar up your cam bearings. And even with this radiator and condenser out, there's still barely enough room. There. Just comparing these two cams and just looking at them, and also looking at the wear on this old one. Did see one of the lobes that had an unusual looking wear on it right there, like it's starting to eat down into the finish, past the finish of the cam. I didn't see any other lobes that were like that. Filled lifter was up here at cylinder 1, so would have been on one of these. I didn't see anything unusual. Alright, so I'm going to attempt to put this new cam in. Some assembly lube on here. I'm just going to put it like halfway on at first, and then I'll put the other half on. Alright, let's see. So I'm going to take it easy putting it in. I want to beat up the cam bearings. There it is. Wasn't very hard. Not as hard as I thought it would be anyway. Alright, go ahead and put this cam plate back in place. And do yourself a favor, try not to drop any of these fasteners because they are straight down as the oil pan. And I actually, when I was taking the timing cover off, one of the pins that are supposed to stay in the block fell down into the oil pan. I had to fish it out with a magnet. But thanks to Jesus, I found it. So I'm not going to torque this quite yet. Gotta take a second to look over my torque specs before I do that. I'll run them in very gently. Alright guys, so it's getting late and it's getting a little chilly out. My camera or phone died, so I wasn't able to get all of my progress. I did get the timing cover back on, everything torqued back down, and I pulled out the MDS cylinders and put the plugs in their place. Those things were a real pain in the butt. They don't like to come out. I guess Chrysler designed them that way so you don't take them out. But they came out in several pieces, and some of them I had to drill and put some screws in the top and just kind of pop them out with a hammer, like popping out of a nail. But anyway, I think that's all I'm going to get for today, so next part will be another day.